The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio. From hot dogs to cool kitties, this is Darkside of the Pooch.
Oh, Dr. Rab, what you got, baby? Oh, that's good. That's good. Darkside the Pooch, brought to you by Ed's Pet World, a 47-year-old family-owned business, probably close to 50 years now, specializing in exotic pets, pet exhibitions, service since 1974. They do it all: lizards, geckos, chameleons, bearded dragons, birds, parakeets, Amazon parrots that even talk, chinchillas, ferrets, rabbits, plus a huge collection of vintage and modern toys. Seth travels the entire United States. They're bringing back a collection of figurines, pop, Star Wars stuff, and various items, especially watches and collectibles. They buy, sell, and trade. So bring those collectibles down to Ed's Pet World, nearly 50 years down there in Homewood, 879-1331, 879-1331. He is Dr. Rab Stewart from the Rossbridge Animal Hospital. Their number is 205-208-0301, at Rossbridge Vet on Twitter, the Rossbridge Animal Hospital on Facebook. What is going on, my man? How you doing?
Gosh, I think your dogs, didn't you tell me the other day about, like, you had a peeing problem? Was it Frisco? Somebody peeing?
Well, yeah, we've had some air pee, and then and this happened again, where both dogs were smelling the same post. One had his nose in it, the other one was hiking a leg on it, and he peed on his face again.
That must be contagious, because my dog's peeing and pooping in the house. You know what it is? I swear, my kids they like to go to Starbucks on Saturday mornings.
Yeah.
And they got him, I feel like they got him something that has given him the tummy troubles at Starbucks.
Uh-oh.
And there we go, every time. Peeing and pooping in the house.
And see, I think a lot of people think veterinarians don't have the same issues the rest of us have, right?
Well, I guess so. But my issue is not the dog. My issue is my kids that want to give my dog a big cup of whatever it is. I don't know. It's Starbucks is probably going to call on the show and try to sue me for defamation or something. Nothing bad against Starbucks. It's not Starbucks. It's my own dog's GI tract. Okay?
Exactly.
Nothing wrong with Starbucks. It's my dog's GI tract.
So what are some things that can mess up a dog's GI tract? And caffeine, coffee, one of those?
Oh, everything and anything.
Yeah.
Some dogs have really, really sensitive, and a dog may be able to eat one thing, one dog can, and the other dog, you feed them the same thing, and they're going to be pooping in the house, having diarrhea, getting up all hours of the night, going potty. So, and for the most part, me doing what I do, I'm very cautious, and I try not to feed my dog anything other than dog food.
Yeah.
But sometimes things fall through the cracks.
Sure.
Literally, there are things falling out of my dog's crack.
He's Dr. Rab Stewart from the Rossbridge Animal Hospital. We take your mutt mail emails. Go to TonyKurreRadio.net, become a bonehead, and we've got a couple of stellar ones, a couple of personal ones for Dr. Rab today. We'll get into those coming up in a few minutes. I wanted to mention this story, though, and I was going to send it to you, but I ran out of time. A 2-year-old, you probably heard this, a 2-year-old Jack Russell, Ukrainian Jack Russell dog. Its name is Patron, Patron, which in Ukrainian stands for bullet cartridge. It is now a dog hero. They're claiming it's discovered 150 explosive devices over the Ukraine, and it's the cutest little thing. And what's wild about this thing is, again, it's only 2 years old. The owner of this Jack Russell wasn't aware that this animal had this gift or this skill to find explosive devices. Is that a pre-genetic thing? Is it a DNA thing? He said he just noticed that his Jack Russell was starting to sniff around a lot of different things that just so happened were explosive. And so they took it and they started training this dog, and now it's an explosive finding animal. How's that work?
I don't know. That's pretty impressive, because most dogs have to go through training to do that, to really sniff out devices or drugs, or to pick up on if an owner has a certain medical condition, that they may be having some problems with. That usually takes a lot of training. So I wonder if it was, maybe this dog is just a wonder dog, that's possible. But I also wonder if it was something, not so much the explosive device, but what if it was something that whoever buried, like if it was a person that buried them, or if it was a machine that buried them or whatever. I wonder if that gave off something that piqued the dog's interest, just like a dog would if they saw a squirrel, run underground.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there isn't something else that helps the dog get to that spot. Not saying that there was, but it's possible.
So you need to basically teach a dog what it needs to smell for, and continue to reward it by smelling. Say you want it to find dead squirrels in your yard. Let it smell a dead squirrel, and then it needs to realize that when you tell it to go find the dead squirrel, that's when it starts sniffing. And dogs can do that with basically anything, right? They find bodies, they find everything.
Yeah. You can teach a dog to, professionals, that know how to do it.
Yeah.
It's almost getting silly. They're training dogs to detect certain types of cancer now.
Yeah, it's incredible. It really is. That's perfect for this first mutt mail, and we'll jump into it because it has to do with this. Stacy in Huntsville says, typically, how long does it take to teach a dog a new trick, and should it go in steps? I know that most people know how to get a dog to shake, and then they get it to sit, and then once you get it to sit, you can get it to lie down, and then you get it to roll over. Do you have to do it in steps? Is that the best way to teach your dog?
Yeah. Most of the time, if you can break it down, it's just like teaching a kid something. When you're teaching kids to read, you try to teach them to break the word down first. Like they're not gonna be able to read the word onomatopoeia.
Yeah.
You got to say, all right, let's break the word up into groups. Like, what would these 3 or 4 letters be? All right, now these 3 or 4. And it's the same way with dogs. I tried for a long time. This was like years ago, but I had a dog, and I wanted to teach him that trick where, you can do the finger gun. Mm-hmm. And I think I saw it in the movie, you do finger gun, dog, bang. Yeah. But then they, do it in stages where they'll limp, on 3 legs. And then you do it again, bang, and then they lay down, and then you do it again, bang, and they roll over,
Yeah.
So I tried to teach my dog how to do that, and I was not very successful, probably because I didn't have enough patience.
So how long should you, if you're trying to teach a dog a new trick, how long should you spend with that dog at first, and then move on until it finally if you're sitting there trying to teach a dog a trick for the course of 2 hours, it's going to lose interest, right? So how long should you spend with your dog before you move on, then pick it back up again?
It just depends on the dog, really, and what their attention span is.
Yeah.
Because you can tell if a dog is engaged with you and paying attention to you or not.
Yeah.
And if they're still paying attention, then you can go as long as they'll let you go.
Yeah.
But once they lose that focus, then, give them a break. And I think that, dogs tend to have a short memory about things. So you could do several sessions a day that will last as long as your dog will let them.
And certainly go ahead.
But it takes it can take a long time to train a dog to do a sophisticated trick like the finger gun thing that I was trying to teach it, but to teach a dog to sit and shake, a dog can have that in a day. If you do it a few times a day, especially if you have a treat, dogs will pick up on it fast.
And certainly from an experience standpoint, try to do it with just one dog, because if you have another dog around it, you're never going to get anywhere. Dr. Rab Stewart of the Rossbridge Animal Hospital, brought to you by Ed's Pet World every single week. It runs on Mondays. Every Monday is Darkside of the Pooch. Right here, it runs at noon and 8. Make sure you go to Tony Curry Radio on Spotify, and you can hear like 30 different episodes of every show. There's all kinds of fantastic mutt mail. We have good laughs. You can hear him howl, and you can hear him sound like a cat. It's fantastic. Go to Spotify, search Tony Curry Radio, that's Curry with a K, and you can listen to all of our episodes and listen to as many as you want. Before we get to some more emails, some mutt mails here, saw a very interesting article that came out yesterday. According to a genetic analysis that surveyed over 2,000 purebred and mixed breed dogs and answers of dog owners, the behavioral traits of dogs are not specific to their breeds. The study published this past week revealed that the predictive value in what determines individual dogs' personality traits is particularly narrow. In short, the stereotypes attributed to dogs based on their breeding is more or less a myth. More, the study found that while breed ancestry can somewhat inform a dog's ability to respond to commands and direction, the prospect of predicting a breed's odds of being frightened or provoked by stimuli is very, very slim. You've always talked about that. We always talk about, pit bulls. Oh, it's got a little pit bull, and you think right away, okay, this is going to be a trouble dog, and it's just not true, right? So why do humans look at a particular breed and believe that it's going to be the best dog for our family situation. I know a lot of people love Labradors. They're like, Labradors are wonderful family pets, but really any dog's a great family pet, right?
Yeah. I don't know why. I mean, I think that stereotypes they're just, they're not good, but they can be hard to get past.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if you can name a dog breed, then I can tell you I've had some great experience with that breed, and I've had some terrible experiences with that breed. So, I mean, there are some breeds that do tend to have certain characteristics when they come and see me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is the nature of the breed. Like, most Great Danes are going to act, they're 150-pound dogs.
Yeah.
And they're going to act like what you think, a terrified Chihuahua is going to act like. They try to hide under the chairs. They're very very cautious when it comes to holding still and letting us do what we need to do. But you think this dog is this huge, powerful dog, and they wouldn't be afraid of anything.
Yeah.
But that's a trait of the Great Dane when they come and see us. But we see pets. Pets act different when they come and see us than when they do at home. That's just the way it is. There's really no way of getting around that. So, other German Shepherds are really fearful too, which is just not what you would think. I mean, these dogs are trained as police dogs to be fearless. But when we see, just a family German Shepherd, I mean, they are terrified, and you see these other dogs, Dachshunds, or Havanese, or Cavaliers, and they're these mild, meek, small dogs, and they get in our office and they act like they don't have a care in the world.
Yeah.
Poke them, prod them, look down their throat, no problem.
That is so true. We had a German Shepherd for a long period of time. That is the weirdest thing, that they seem so skittish, but their bark is awesome. They have the most awesome bark. I mean, they could sit there at the front door and bark and ain't no one getting near the house. I love that. Tony in Demopolis has 2 German Shepherds. He walks his German Shepherds 4 to 5 times a week. And they said he seems like the more he spends time with his dogs, the more his dogs demand time of him. And he's getting to the point where he can't really do any more with his dogs. He's exhausted at the end of the day. He said, do my dogs get their feelings hurt? Yes or no?
I think that they develop attachments. And when they feel like they're not getting the attention that they need, I think that they could, act anxious. So, do they get their feelings hurt? In a roundabout way, I think that they have anxieties based on if they are getting the amount of attention that they've gotten in the past or not. So you could interpret that as a yes or a no, but I think that they get into a pattern. They get used to being around certain people. They get used to being in certain activities. And, if that changes, or if they feel like they're not having those needs met, then you may start to see some anxiety based behavior, like chewing on things, or getting into the garbage, things that they normally wouldn't do. So yeah.
I'm typically, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I just thought I heard something there. Typically, I walk my dogs around 4:00 in the afternoon, and at 4:00 in the afternoon, they're coming up and they want to go for a walk. Every time I get up and walk towards the kitchen near the leashes, they go crazy. But they also know that 12:30 is nap time. So, I mean, if they're going to get used to that behavior of going on a walk every day at 4:00, you can kind of reverse that a little bit and let them know, hey, this is my time. This is the time where I want to be left alone, and this is where I go read my book, and you have to leave me alone a little bit. Patsy in Hueytown says her dog loves to take rides in the car, but every time the dog takes a ride, it pukes. Is there anything I can give my dog before it hops in the car?
If it's just a motion sickness kind of thing, then she can give her dog meclizine. It's an over-the-counter medication. It's 25 milligrams per dog, basically, no matter the size of the dog, most of the time. Now, I've never seen the dog, so these are just kind of recommendations that she could also find on the internet. If she searched. But meclizine, 25 milligrams. It's an oral medication. You can give it a couple hours before you get in the car, and it's for motion sickness. So If the dog is throwing up from motion sickness, then this is a good thing to give it. Now, if it's throwing up because of anxiety or just getting really worked up, then the meclizine may not help. And even for severe motion sickness, meclizine may not help. So it might be a situation where she needs something prescription strength, but that's something that can get her started.
And I mean, the question here was like, why would the dog want to take a ride if it knew it was going to get anxiety ridden and throw up? But sometimes that dog just wants to be with you, right? They'll go through that to be with you.
Yeah. I don't know that they put those two things together. I mean, dogs are smart, but I don't know that they can make that leap from every time I get in this car, I get sick.
Yeah.
I think that they just know they're getting sick. They don't know why. It's kind of like, we talk about kids a lot on this show, mainly because we both have kids, but also because you get to a certain age and below. And I think that is kind of some animals have that same level, of cognition. Kids, they don't know what's good for them, and they get themselves into a lot of trouble because they don't understand the consequences of a certain action. And so dogs are the same way.
So if a dog is getting motion sickness, and I know that I've got human friends that get motion sickness when they're sitting in the back seat, they got to sit in the front seat, maybe because they're looking, or if you're looking out the back window, that can certainly make you motion sickness. Could this be a situation where she starts with shorter rides, A, and B, maybe kennel the dog when she's got him in the car, so at least the dog's with her, but would the kennel change anything?
I mean, it could. I think that the dog is still probably going to do the things it would do outside of the kennel. Maybe the good thing about the kennel is whatever, the dog's vomit might be easier to clean up.
Yeah.
In like a localized area.
True. And then again, they're slopping around in it probably as well. All right. You ready for a good one here?
I'm ready. I can't wait.
Mutt Mail on Darkside the Pooch. You hear the show every Monday at noon and 8 live right here on Tony Curry Radio. And thanks to thousands of listeners who check out. And thank you to everybody across the country who's sending these fantastic emails. Of all the shows we do, we have 10 different shows. This one gets the most email by far, and we greatly appreciate that. And, of course, you can hear every Encore presentation through Spotify. It's free. Go to Spotify. It's absolutely free to search Tony Curry Radio, and you can hear all of our Darkside the Pooches. Amy is a veterinarian in Biloxi. She says, what kind of woman do male veterinarians like and why? And she said, why does it seem like most female veterinarians have a hard time finding a good man?
I can only tell you from a personal experience.
Yes.
The type of woman that I like, her name is Elaine Stewart, and she is my wife.
Yes.
She is the only person that I could ever have seen myself with. She is not a veterinarian. She is a school teacher. And she's fantastic. All of the qualities about her is what I love about her. So I'm not really sure, as far as what other people are looking for. But my wife is a super strong Christian, and that's one of the things that drew me to her right away. And then her love of kids, she's a teacher and she loves all kids. She loves my kids. She loves her school kids. She's a lot of fun. She likes to go out and do things. She likes to have a good time. So those were all the things that drew me to her and still draw me to her. Not to mention she's a total babe, has always been a total babe. 3 kids, still a total babe.
You would have a great Tinder profile, if you're ever single again, but you never will be. The other thing I think, and she asked the question, why is it so difficult for a woman veterinarian to find a man? I think in a lot of cases, men always talk about cat women. Like if a woman's got like 3 or 4 cats, sometimes guys will not go out with them because they're like, okay, that's just kind of crazy to have that many cats. And usually when you find a woman who's super, super compassionate about animals, and we've seen this, and if you get on Facebook, you can get on a Facebook group about women who just got they take in strays. They got like 17 dogs. Sometimes guys, I think, actually feel like they're going to be taking a back seat to that passion, and maybe that's why they can't attract them. They need to realize that a human is certainly more important than an animal, but it goes hand in hand. So maybe that's part of it. I'm not sure.
Maybe so. But it's something else. Like, and I don't know what her schedule is like. But veterinarians work a lot.
Yeah.
I spent the first 12 years of my career basically working 6 days a week.
Yeah.
When I was at my first job, I worked, I think 5 out of 6 Saturdays. Like I would work 5 Saturdays and then I would be off one Saturday. Yeah. And then again, I would work 5 Saturdays and I would be off one Saturday. And even some Sundays were involved. I had one Sunday a month where I had to work. So, I don't know what a lot of people's schedule is, but if you're working a lot and a man or a woman wants to take you out, but they can only see you, one Saturday a month because of your work schedule, it might be the availability is the issue more than anything else.
Yeah, and some applause for your lovely bride too, because as a school teacher, and I've dated a couple of school teachers, they don't shut it down at 3:15 every day too. They're at home grading papers at night and doing things as well. So you both figured it out. All right, this is Darkside the Pooch. You can hear it every Monday at noon and 8 live right here on Tony Curry Radio. And thanks again to the thousands of folks all over the country who listen, certainly here in Birmingham. You can find him at the Rossbridge Animal Hospital. It's fantastic. 208-0301, area code 205, or at Rossbridge Vet on Twitter, the Rossbridge Animal Hospital on Facebook. And again, go to Spotify and check out Tony Curry Radio. Search Darkside the Pooch. You'll see a picture of my blue heeler right there. It's a fantastic show. You can listen to all the past episodes as much as you want. Steve in Durango, Colorado said, can any 2 dogs mate? And if you have a small male that you want to mate with a much larger dog, how can you help?
Dogs can mate of different breeds for sure.
Yeah.
He's kind of on the right track, because if you're going to have 2 dogs that have a big size discrepancy.
Yes.
You want to use a large female and a small male, because if you do the opposite of that, you have a large male and a small female, then you may end up having larger puppies than the female can safely give birth to.
Oh, okay.
That
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and it's something that, once somebody says that, you're like, oh, that makes total sense, like, because you can only fit a certain size dog through a certain size birth canal.
Yeah.
So, as far as like helping, male, as long as the size discrepancy isn't huge, you'd be surprised at what those little males are capable of. They know what their job is, and they're going to do everything they can to get it done. But if they can't physically make it happen, then you usually have to get a specialist involved at that point, because you can still collect the semen and then inseminate you can collect the semen from the male and then inseminate the female. If you're really serious about getting puppies out of them, but that's a process that requires a veterinarian, and it requires testing of the female and the male, to be sure that, number one, the male has viable semen, and number two, that the female is ready, like her in her cycle, if she is ovulating, and she is receptive of that semen. So you got to do some testing there before you go that route.
Is that common? I mean, and is that something that breeders do that they probably shouldn't?
Oh, no, it's breeders do it all the time, and it's totally fine. I mean, there's no, so probably most breeders would do that because they want to ensure a litter of puppies or kittens.
Yeah.
Because most of the time breeders are breeding specific breeds, and they're not collecting the male and inseminating the female because of a size difference. They're doing it because they want to ensure that the female is going to get pregnant by a certain male so they can get a certain type of puppy, because that's what they do. Either it's a hobby or it's their business.
Yeah.
So there's nothing, ethically or otherwise wrong with doing it that way. And then some people, you can collect the male and then immediately inseminate the female, or you can collect the male and then you can freeze the semen and you can ship it all over the country or world, to get a certain type dog. I mean, now you're getting into serious money. If you're doing that, you're probably making several $1,000s, if not more, per puppy. It's a big business, and it costs a lot of money to do that kind of stuff.
Can I share a little story with you, because you were talking about big males and small females. My Aunt Jeannie was 4'10", She was married to my Uncle Carl, my mom's brother. He was 7'2". And yeah, 7'2", and she was 4'10", and they end up having 3 children, and they were all they had twin daughters who were 6'10", and then they had a son who was 7'1". So I can imagine her. She was a tough gal. I'll tell you what, she was
unbelievable.
Yeah, it really was. John in Knoxville says he keeps seeing these. Is it Apoquel tablets for animals that itch a lot? He said, I don't ever remember seeing all these pharmaceutical commercials now for animals. I used to see them all the time for humans, but now I'm seeing them for pets. He wants to know, is it a racket or not? He goes, I've never had to give my dog anything for itching. It gets his flea, it gets his heartworm, and all of a sudden I'm being told that just because my dog is scratching or licking its paws, maybe it's got an issue. What should I do about it when I see my dogs doing these things?
It is not a racket for sure.
Okay.
I mean, the medication, if your dog is doing a little bit of licking and a little bit of scratching, it's probably normal.
Yeah.
I mean, all dogs are going to do that, but it's these dogs that are scratching themselves until they pull their hair out, or they're licking themselves until their skin is really red and irritated and infected. You know, those dogs may be the ones that benefit from it because they may have an allergy to something. A lot of times when dogs are itchy, they have an allergy. Even when dogs have fleas, if they're really itchy, what they're allergic to is the saliva of the fleas. The fleas crawling around can make them a little bit itchy, but what really sets a dog off is if they're allergic to fleas. But if the medication is, it works great for a very large percentage of dogs. It's like any other medication, though. It doesn't work for every single dog because, you know, every human medication doesn't work for every single human.
Yeah.
But it is legitimate. And I think the reason that you're starting to see commercials for medications and preventatives is because these companies know it's a big business now. I mean, veterinary medicine is nothing like it used to be 70 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, when those dogs and cats, they all lived outside. They came in once a year, they got their vaccines, and then they went back outside. You know, now we see just as many sick pets as we do well pets, where it used to not be that way, you know, because nothing was wrong with the pets. But the thing is, things were wrong with the pets. People just didn't know it because the dog lived outside and they spent 5 minutes with it a day.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't know that it had an ear infection or a toothache or that it had been throwing up for a month straight.
That is so true.
So now that these pets don't live outside anymore and they sit in our laps and they watch TV with us, we know right away when something's not right. And so we're developing new medications and we're developing new procedures and things like that just from necessity.
That's a great point. One final question here. Stephanie in Des Moines, Iowa wants to know what are some of the names of Dr. Rab's dogs he's had over his lifetime, and why did you name those dogs that? Just pick a couple that you have, or maybe you had growing up, and how'd you come up with their names?
All right, so my current dog is named Renzo, and we named it that because according to our research, my wife and I, it means laurel in Italian. I guess if anyone out there is like knows Italian, they might say, hey, that's not right. If so, write the show and tell me I'm an idiot. I need to change my dog's name. But we got married out towards Mount Laurel, and that's why we came up with that for his name. The dog before that I named Callie, and I don't know why. I just kind of liked the name. But no real reason behind that. Probably the only name that really means something is our current dog, and it has to do with my wife and I, where we got married.
There you go. Ed's Pet World proudly sponsors Darkside the Pooch every single week. It's been around for nearly 50 years right there in Homewood, Alabama. Everyone talks about where should I go when I first get to Birmingham. Go to Ed's Pet World. It's unbelievable. They have the most exotic pets you'll find, and they give you the exotic service to make sure you can care for those pets. Everything from parakeets, Amazon parrots, lizards, geckos, red-tailed boas. I got a snake from there, chameleons, dog. You got every rabbits, chinchillas, ferrets. And, of course, Seth is a master at toys. He travels the country. He just got back from Vegas. Figurines, pops, Star Wars stuff, various items of specialty. Watches, collectibles. They buy, sell, and trade. So bring those collectibles down there. If you find some in your attic, bring them down there, and you'll find the perfect collectible from your childhood you'll be waiting for at Ed's. Their number is 879-1331. He's Dr. Rab Stewart from the Rossbridge Animal Hospital. As always, Special thanks to my man. Make sure you go to Spotify and search Tony Curry Radio. It's Curry with a K, or just search Darkside the Pooch, and you can listen to all the previous episodes. Dr. Rab, until next week, thank you, my friend. You're the man.
I love the questions. Keep them coming.
You got it, buddy.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio.